If your defense keeps getting shredded and you have no idea what you're doing in Madden 26, you just clicked on the perfect video. Today I'm breaking down 5 lockdown Madden 26 defense tips that if you actually take them into your next game and implement them, you'll pitch a shutout. I just did it in my last CFM game, so I know the same thing can happen for you so long as you don't skip out on any of the tips and tricks I'm breaking down today. Let's jump right into it. First, I want to break down the hidden best defensive settings that not enough players know about right now. Let me show you. Alright, so we're going to come to our coaching adjustments here by pressing the right stick in on defense, and we're going to first break down these alignment settings and why they could be costing your defense. Alright, so auto flip defensive play, you want to make sure this is on. This is going to make sure that your slot corner aligns on the same side as slot receiver, especially when you're in a nickel formation. You see here I can flip my play because I have auto flip off, which some people like this, but the reality is you now have more control, which means you have increase error proneness, right? Increase risk to where now you can align your slot corner on the wrong side of their slot receiver, whereas EA, will get it right about 95-98% of the time. So I would just recommend you leave it on. There are some blitzes here maybe in this game that you might want to turn it off, but for the most part, leaving it on is what makes the most sense. Cornerback matchups on balance, defensive motion response on disabled. These two are going to make sure that your DBs don't realign based on motion or the offense no huddling. If you put your cornerback matchup on buy speed when you're in zone coverage, this is what could potentially happen where the offense is going to, so you're going to come out like this on the first play you do it, but then when the offense no huddles, and now your guys are going to try to realign in zone coverage based on whatever you have it set to. So it could really end up being horrible like this, where it's like now your guys are totally misaligned because they're trying to track these guys from all the way across the field. But the problem is in this game, the zones stay like this. They don't like change zone assignments. Their zones are going to also play across the field. So now you have a slot fade on the field, and now it's just going to be wide open for an easy pass. Any half-decent offensive player calling half-decent route concepts are going to be able to absolutely torch your defense, right, when your players are crisscrossing trying to play their zone assignments from all the way across the field. So you really want to make sure that you have those first 3 alignment settings down and on point, because like everything else that I'm really going to break down in this video kind of plays off of that, right? Because if you don't have your players in the right spot, nothing's going to matter. So on for auto flip, balanced for cornerback matchups, and disabled for defensive motion response, all right? But the next thing that I want to break down here is going to be RPO pass key, because as this says, it's going to tell your AI defenders to focus on pass coverage on RPO passes, which means the run gap is left open where you're going to plug that hole with your user. So really where that becomes really valuable is when we come into a cover 3 sky type of defense, we're going to pretty easily be able to shut down RPOs with a simple method. So all we're going to do is put a hard flat on the field. So if we're in a cover 3, we're going to press Y and then right stick down to shade it underneath. And then we're going to man up their slot receiver like this. And then we're going to press RB, right stick up to pass commit our defense, because even though we have our setting turned on to focus on pass coverage, sometimes these guys are still looking to the backfield. So don't totally rely on the setting. The setting will help you. But here we're going to talk about how you can stop RPOs, because now you have a hard flat, you have a man up on that receiver who you think is getting the ball, and you're pass committing, which means that both of these guys now are going to have a great opportunity to just run down there and make that play, right? Now, the reason why you want to make sure that you have 2 guys, because this is the reality. They're in a 2x2 formation right here. But if they added a third receiver right here and threw him the ball, then they would have 2 blockers out here, like from trips tight end basically. So that's where it's like one of those guys would get blocked in that scenario, and so you need to make sure that you have another defender here, right? So if he got blocked, he would be here, or if he got blocked, he would be here to make this play, and then you're easily able to see how you're going to take away that RPO pass. It really doesn't matter the RPO that they're calling here in this game. It's really the same procedure. Shade your coverage down, whether you're in cover 2 or cover 3. I'd recommend being in cover 3. Then you're going to take a linebacker who's closest to the receiver or the guy that you think is getting the ball. Press D-pad right twice here, then press right stick up, and then press Y, and now you're going to have your pass defense set up. Now it's an RPO though, so you still have to make sure you're ready to stop the run depending on the run that they call. Right here they call it just an outside zone run, so all I have to do is run through that gap and shoot it in the backfield with my user and bring that guy down. So again, RPO pass defense, make sure you have the RPO pass key setting on conservative so that that your guys are more focused naturally on the pass. Still make sure you set up RPO pass defense with the man up and then the hard flat like this to shut the pass down. And then the final step is to make sure you're still ready to stop the run with your user, because even if you stop the pass, if you don't stop the run, they're just going to hand it off and pick up really easy yards. But those are the hidden best defensive settings you need to make sure you have turned on and what they do here in Madden 26. But next I want to break down what zone drop settings you need to be using and specific use cases for the best zone drops. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so I always say that the best zone drop settings actually depend on the situation that you're in on defense, which really means that there's like infinitely many different combinations for zone drops that you could use depending on what you're facing and what you're playing against. But I'm going to break down the 3 most common and most useful here. So the first one is going to be default flats, 5 curl flats, default hooks from a cover 3 defense. And when you want to use this is when you're getting hit with a lot of checkdowns. So you're getting hit with mesh concepts, you're getting hit with table routes from the halfback, anything really attacking quick underneath. That's where you want to use this specific zone drop setting. So we're going to double flat them here. We're going to put our tight end on an out, our halfback on a table route, and you're going to notice how our 5-yard purple is sitting right there to get one of the easiest interceptions that you'll ever see. And it's going to be the same thing on the other side, and it's going to be very consistent. The reason why zone drops are going to help you is because you're setting your guy where you need him to be. You know, the reality is a purple zone, a curl flat, by default is going to backpedal and drop to about 10 or 15 yards. But when you set him to 5, now he's right here to stop this running back right out of the backfield, and you're able to see off the other side where your guy's right here to, you know, intercept that pass. So really, if you're getting hit with, like, we'll go with a mesh concept this time. We'll put our tight end on a drag. We'll put Brian Thomas Jr. on a drag route, right? And you're just going to see how, same thing, both sides. We're easily going to be able to stop that right there, break that pass up, and then on the other side it's the exact same thing where we have a 5-yard curl flat sitting right at the spot to be able to knock this pass away. Very, very easy for you, and you're not really going to have any, you know, trouble stopping those underneath passes. But the reality is the next use case is when you're getting beat with flood concepts, because what happens is when you have those 5-yard curl flats, if they're a smart player, they're going to call like a route concept like this, shriek on the outside receiver, corner, and then a flat, where they're going to attack your flat, step up in the pocket, and now you're potentially going to have that corner out right there wide open on the sideline for an easy completion. So it's like now on that play against that route concept, you only have 2 defenders. You have this guy and you have this guy, and they have 3 routes attacking the sideline. He has to run up the field with the shriek, and then you just run a corner out right underneath of him, and then possession catches. So that's where the second great use case for zone drops, where we're going to use a double Mabel coverage, is going to become very valuable. So we're going to put our flats on 25, our curl flats on 5 right now, and we're going to come into a Tampa 2 defense, all right? So really where this is going to be valuable is obviously, like I just showed you, when we're trying to defend the deep corner and the short out route at the same time. So the defense is going to look something like this, and so what you really need to do is make sure that you have this curl flat on the field, and then obviously you have your zone drop all the way dropping back here to defend that corner out, because now you're going to see what happens is, boom, that, you know, deep guy is going to guard the corner. We're going to be sitting right at 5 yards to be able to tackle that man for, you know, for a gain of like 2 yards, or sometimes break the pass up. While this time again, we're actually going to have a guy dropping all the way back here to defend that corner. We'll actually throw it this time just so that you can see him kind of break on that pass. You're able to see, boom, he's dropping all the way back there, and he's actually able to go up and intercept that pass. So it's like, that's really the second great use case for zone drops, is when you were actually trying to, you know, defend corner routes, or flood concepts, I should say, where you're going to stop that out route once again, and this time you're actually going to have a guy there. You're putting 1, 2, 3 guys on that side. 1, 2, 3. They all have a different responsibility, a different guy to be able to defend that flood concept, and so you're going to be able to pretty easily lock it down. But the third and final great use case that I like, obviously, like I said, there's infinitely many, but it's like the next one is going to be default flats, default curl flats, and default hooks. The reason why you're going to use this is when you call them into a purple match coverage base play. So cover 3 Buzz Mabel, cover 4 Palms, cover 6, cover 9 show 2, any match coverage play. Now the one that I actually like the most here is going to be cover 6. So I'm going to come into a cover 6 base play right here. Here we go. And so now what you're going to see is this is going to be match coverage. So this is going to be great. Still going to actually be great against like street corner flat. So when they call a route concept like this, you're just going to see how everyone's pretty much just going to pass those routes off, and you're able to see how we're going to guard that corner route. Understand that this is, zone coverage that converts to man, so you still need fast DBs, all of that stuff to be able to actually defend down the field, and you run into like bumping occasionally. But look at how he's just running this route for this receiver. He sees it, latches onto it, doesn't let him cross the face, and then he's actually able to guard it all the way across the field while we take this corner out away, breaking open over the top. So match coverage, really great, against pretty much everything. I actually am putting my controller down in defense here, and we're going to have them just run motion cross post, and we're going to see how we're going to do a great job of just stopping everything. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is that tight end is wide open in the middle, because when you run match coverage, pretty much every single time, if they send 5 out, someone's going to be left wide open like that. But that's where it's really important to take a guy and user him. You need to take this linebacker and user this post route as it's running across the field. So we'll call it one last time here. This time I'm not going to put my controller down. I'm going to take over shown, right? And I'm actually going to guard this post. I see it, and now I'm actually back there to take it away, and we're able to play really great defense, right? Just because I actually decided to guard something with my user and take it away. So anytime you're running match coverage, yes, you want to have all 3 zone drop steps on default for the coverage to play correctly, but you also need to make sure that you're actually using something on defense and not putting your controller down. But those are the 3 best use cases for zone drops here in Madden 26. All right, so if you found those first 2 defensive tips helpful here in Madden 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down Madden 26 tips and tricks just like this every single day to help you guys get better as we move into 27, and I'm really the best channel to watch and take information from. Subscribing is literally free, so go down below and do it today. But if you want my full defensive ebook plus all of the tips in this video in written form to save on your phone during gameplay, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join Madden University, where you can use code YouTube to get your first month for 20% off. Like I said, you can save the ebook and all the tips on your phone, always reference them during gameplay, and never have to go surfing through a video, and there's screenshots attached to guide you. So I highly recommend you check it out, and let's jump right back into the video. Because next I want to break down a defensive tip that's going to allow you to get way faster sheds here with your pass rush. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so we're going to come here into nickel double mug, okay? This is from the Cowboys playbook. This formation's also in the Raiders playbook and a couple others. But you need to make sure it's nickel double mug. It's not 3-3 double mug or 2-4 double mug. It needs to be nickel double mug, okay? And the reason why is because we're going to come into the 4 defensive end package, and what this is going to do is get your 4 best defensive ends, no defensive tackles on the field. Now, you also want to understand your personnel. Quentin Williams is one of the best pass rushers in the game, so I would still want him to be on the field, but most of the time your defensive tackles aren't necessarily going to be great at pass rushing, rather than they're just great at run, shedding run blocks, right? So it's like, if they're passing a lot, you want to get your 4 best kind of shed guys on the field. So that's where the 4 defensive end package becomes really valuable. Now, you can do whatever you want as far as coverage. I'd actually just come to Tampa 2 right here. Now that we have our 4 defensive ends on the field, I'm going to spread my defensive line, and then I'm going to press RB, right stick up to pass commit. Now, like I said, whatever you want to do with coverage, if you want to run a cover 3 cloud defense, something like, maybe like this, right? You could run cover 3 cloud, or you could just run cover 2. Really whatever you want to do, but you want to make sure that you have your D-line spread and you pass commit, because now you're going to notice how your sheds are going to be a whole lot faster. Look at that swim move that we were able to get from number 13 right there. And then also the guy off the edge was actually able to just come in completely untouched, as you're able to see. So boom, shed, very easy, just like that. And then you're also able to see how this guy is able to get a quick swim move. Now he gets blocked again, but it's like he's going to do a great job. What I want you to pay attention to, though, is when you run this defensive package, they're basically going to, if you only send 4, they're going to get 3 one-on-ones and a double team. And that double team is typically going to be on your defensive tackle, who is really your D-end at D-tackle. And so that's going to make your pass rush worse when they can actually double team. So if you don't want that to happen, like you're noticing you're sending 4, you're still not getting the sheds that you want, right now you're going to press RB, right stick up to pass commit, but you're going to blitz your inside linebacker like this, because now they have no choice but to make it 5-1 one-on-ones. So now what you're going to see is it's going to be 5 one-on-ones. That time actually get a guy to come in completely untouched, simply because you're able to confuse the offensive line and get a guy to come in free. Now, that's not going to happen every time where he comes in completely untouched, but just know that that can't happen. You're able to see it once again where we're able to get that guy to come in untouched because, again, I'm affecting the offensive line. But it's like, as far as the sheds go, you really want to make sure that you're able to kind of, have those 5 one-on-ones here where it's like now you see how much faster that shed's actually going to be because there's no opportunity for the offensive line to double team. So again, this is really only from the nickel double mug formation here on my Cowboys defensive ebook at my website and actually part of Madden U right now, but you're just able to see how we actually utilize this in the ebook because we're just going to get these really quick instant sheds because this guy is used to blocking a deep tackle who's more of a power guy, but then you're going to notice how you're going to get way more swim and spin moves just by having this package turned on. So again, you can do whatever you want as far as coverage, but have that 4 defensive end package, pass commit your defense, and you're going to see that your sheds are going to be way faster. Alright, before I jump into those final 2 Madden 26 defense tips that you're absolutely not going to miss, I wanted to remind you to go down below, hit that subscribe button. I'm the only one right now still breaking down Madden 26 tips and tricks just like this every single day, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content I have right now or in 27. So again, subscribing is literally free. Go down below, do it today, and let's jump into the final 2 tips. Which that next one is going to be how exactly you're going to stop the offensive beta here from Gun Bunch X Nasty. Let me show you. Alright, so we're going to break down the 2 most common and best plays here from Gun Bunch X Nasty: spacing switch and motion cross post. So I'm going to start with spacing switch, and what makes this so dangerous is this running back route, because what you're going to notice right here is if you call like Tampa 2, for example, you're just going to notice how this running back route is going to be glitched out of the backfield, get a speed boost, and then it's like, so he gets a speed boost off the route, but then you can actually speed boost with your ball carrier after you catch the ball. So you notice how he gets a speed boost out of the backfield, and then I can boost again to pick up even more yards. I can spin that guy out. So it's like you really can't let that guy catch the ball, right? And if you're in cover 2 though, really what can happen is if you put a hard flat on the field, they could hit you maybe with a slot fade, where they just hike the ball and throw that in between your corner and your safety, right? Because that corner has to come down in the hard flat. So it's really like, how do you stop, spacing switch? And what you're going to do, you're actually going to run man coverage, right? Because now there's not going to be any holes in your defense to kind of force you to pick your poison. So you're going to come into cover 1 robber or any type of, well, actually I would run maybe mid blitz, but for the sake of it, we're just calling man coverage, right? You're going to notice though that now when you call man, he's still going to get that speed boost on his route and still be able to turn that into a first down or even more yards down the field. So man coverage alone isn't going to be the answer. Really what you need to do is actually call man coverage, but be ready to switch kick. So what I would do, you see how the linebackers manned up onto this glitch running back route? I'm going to put my outside corner on him. So now it's going to look like this, and then I'm going to man my linebacker onto Brian Thomas Jr. I would also spread my linebackers as well, just so he's not standing on the line of scrimmage. He gets beat by like a streak or a slot fade. But now it looks like this, because now what you're going to notice is this outside corner is going to do a better job of defending this and preventing him from speed boosting like that. But if they wait longer, there's still a potential that he gets open. So really what I would do, the final kind of foolproof thing here that I would do to stop spacing switch is really make sure that I switch stick onto that immediately, just so that I'm actually ready to defend it. So you're able to see how, boom, I'm immediately going to just switch stick onto my outside corner, take that away, switch stick back. Right, I don't actually need to stay on him. I just need to be out there quickly to prevent them from really just height throwing it. Right, so you're able to see, boom, I had a double switch stick right here. I'm coming down. There's no way that they would throw this. If they did, I would get an interception. And now his speed boost is nullified because I kind of closed the airspace, close the gap in between, my user and the ball carrier, and now you see how he's literally in his hip to stop that. So stopping spacing switch is really just about not allowing that running back to be able to speed boost out of the backfield, which again, the only way that you can really counter it is, or the best way that you're going to counter it is actually just coming into man coverage, putting your outside corner on that guy, and then making sure you're switch sticking to really do a great job of taking that away. But really, that's the first play that I want to break down here, because once you take away spacing switch, you still have to deal with motion cross post, right? And so how we're going to deal with motion cross post, and I actually believe motion cross post is even better of a play, is we're going to actually come into a cover 6 defense, right? So we're going to to put all 3 zone drop depths on default. We're going to call cover 6, and we're going to actually, again, be ready to switch it. Now, I believe that this is the best route concept for motion crossbows right here, just putting X on a streak, hiking the ball. But what you're going to notice is, let's just put my controller down on defense for the sake of showing you this, right? And you're going to notice how this guy's going to come in motion. We're going to be able to take away a lot of these routes. But again, you notice how, like I showed you earlier in the video with the zone drops tip, it's like you typically leave one guy wide open underneath when you actually don't use or anything. So now you need to be ready to actually take this, vert hook defender and actually guard that. So we're going to bring this guy in motion again, and we're going to see the same thing happens. But this time I'm ready to defend this underneath pass, and now everything is completely taken away with motion crossbows. It's very, very simple when you call match coverage, but you have to understand what your match coverage is actually doing and what it's defending. This is a wheel route against a soft squat. This soft squat is going to take this wheel route when it runs vertical up the field, and which means there's no one in this flat. So I have to be here to replace him, take this away, and now you're able to see how my inside quarter takes away this tight end post, and we're able to defend this running back out of the backfield underneath. So Bunch X Nasty really doesn't have to be that complicated to stop when you actually take away spacing switch by running man coverage, and then you understand what your cover 6 match is going to play, how it's going to play against this play, and you actually do a good job with your user. Alright, and that last defensive tip I want to break down here in this video is another one that I get all the time in my comment sections. BLT, how do I stop comeback routes? They keep beating me with the comebacks, and they're actually very easy to stop. Let me show you. Alright, so everyone says they get beat by comeback routes all the time, and the reason why is because you're pretty typically running a cover 3 defense, cover 3 hard flat, and so what happens is maybe they call route concept like this on the left side right here, and they have a route to push your outside third up the field with the shriek. They have a flat to run your flat zone outside, and then they're just going to run a comeback route right behind him. So boom, and now you're just going to see how that's just going to be an easy completion out there because that outside third ran up the field to defend the shriek, even though he really didn't need to. He did, that's just zone logic, and then you're able to see how they're just going to have this guy sitting right here. So you're calling a lot of cover 3 and cover 4, which is really where that comeback route is also going to be really great because the comeback sells it. He runs boom up the field, and then he sits down. Right, and then he just sits down, turns around the corner, just gets beat. But comeback routes, they're not that hard to stop, especially if you know they're coming, right? It's different if you don't know that they're coming, they randomly sneak one in when you're in cover 3. All right, cool, but there's no reason you should constantly be getting beat by them because all you really need to do is make sure that you have a cloud flat on the field because now what you're going to notice is it's going to be the same route concept, but this time we're going to be in cover 2, and that cloud flat is going to do a great job of just sitting at that spot. So now when they go to throw that, and the guy turns around on his comeback, that cloud flat is just going to be sitting there. They also can't throw it. You see how I took a sack right there? Because it's like I have to kind of wait on this route to even get open. Right? I have to wait for him to even turn back around, and by the time he turns back around on this play, I was already sacked. So it's like you can't, it's not like a shriek where you can just throw it. You literally have to wait for him to turn around when you're on offense, before you can even throw the comeback. But again, it's very simple. You just sit in a cover 2 defense. They call this route concept. They can even step in the pocket. Well, now when they go to throw it, I have that guy sitting right there and he just, breaks that pass up. So really comeback routes, they don't really have to be that challenging to stop, especially when you know they're coming. Like you could run cover 3, but you would also want to make sure that you're running cover 2 on the side that you believe they're calling the comeback to. Boom, comeback, just sitting right here on it, and he just throws the ball right to us just like that. Now, again, if you don't want to run cover 2 for whatever reason, right, you're against a spread formation, you're fearful of getting beat by like an actual fade route, well, now you just man up the comeback, right? So you just have a guy sitting right there on the comeback. Now, he can get beat because he's in man coverage, so he can still get beat on this comeback route, so that's why I like the first technique better, but you're going to notice how a lot of the time he's just going to be able to do a good job of just sitting in the hip of that comeback route and taking it away before they can throw it. Again, sometimes he will get cooked on that comeback route, which is why, like I said, I like cover 2 more, but you notice how they don't really have a lot of time here, and he's really in his back pocket hip to knock that pass away if they decide to throw it. So stopping comeback routes doesn't have to be that hard. If they do decide to like stem their comeback route up the field, so boom, they use the D-pad, stem it this far up, well now you just need to stem your zone up a little bit more to still make sure that your guy is sitting there when they actually decide to throw that when it turns around. Right, but you're noticing how if they stem it up, that just means they need more time to throw. So stopping comeback routes, really just making sure you're calling cover 2 defense, or you have the guy running the comeback manned up. Alright, so if you found those 5 Madden 26 defense tips helpful here, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down Madden 26 tips and tricks just like this every single day, and I'm the only one still doing it even as we prepare for Madden and College Football 27, so I'm really the best channel to watch and take information from. Subscribing is literally free. Go down below and do it today. But if you really are serious about getting better on defense or offense here in Madden 26, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join Madden University, where you can get your first month for 20% off by using code YouTube at checkout. I have my Cowboys defensive ebook and a bunch of meta updated tips to help you on defense and offense and get better at the game. And the best part is you can save everything on your phone and always reference it during gameplay. And if you found this video helpful, check out this one right here where I break down 5 more defense tips that'll transform your game. I'll see you over there. Peace.